Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, you can see from the screen the president is about to rally his supporters tonight in Bossier, Louisiana. That's right across the river from Shreveport. Given what's going on in Washington right now, a city in the grip of slobbering hysteria, it's likely the president will have newsworthy things to say this evening, and of course we'll be monitoring what he says, and we'll go there when he does. In the meantime, though, the fallout continues from the very first day, the full day of impeachment hearings. What exactly have we learned? Well, that really depends on who you are. If you're a, for example, mid-level nonprofit executive from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, someone who announces your pronouns to strangers and regularly writes fervid letters to the New Yorker, your preconceptions likely were confirmed by what you saw. You hated Donald Trump when you woke up yesterday morning, and you hated him slightly more when you went to bed last night after watching 11 straight hours of CNN. But if you were anyone else in America, a normal person, someone with kids and a job and a marriage you care about, the hearings likely had no effect at all. You keep hearing distant rumblings about Ukraine and ambassadors and transcripts of phone calls. But you're not quite sure what it adds up to. You suspect it's mostly politics. The people who run things hate Trump obsessively. They always have. You know that. They're not hiding it. Maybe they have good reasons for that. Maybe they don't have good reasons for that. But there's an election just a year from now, and you can decide then. For now, you wish the buffoons on television would stop yapping about Trump 24/7 and talk about something that maybe is relevant to your life. But they won't stop. They're single-mindedly focused on despising Trump. It's weird, and it's unhealthy.
Taylor and Kent handled hard questions thoughtfully, stayed away from rank speculation. They acted without animus and were clearly driven by a sense of duty to the rest of us. Taylor and Kent should make us proud of the people who serve us in government.
We saw two credible witnesses give sworn testimony, patriots here.
And they are utterly convincing. They come across as men of integrity, as civil servants who are patriots.
The credibility of this really patriotic American coming forward and then saying what he said.
I'm gobsmacked by the contrast, the patriotism, the stoicism.
These guys give you patriotic goosebumps. They don't have a dog in the fight. They are not never Trumpers. They're in there just telling it like it is.
You got that? So the people you're watching making slashingly partisan arguments in Congress during the hearing don't, in fact, quote, have a dog in this fight. So contrary to all appearances, ignore your own perceptions. These people are neutral. They're disinterested. They're as blind to partisanship as Lady Justice herself. Trust us, say the news anchors. This is all totally on the level, as believable as Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy results. You'd have to be a total wacko to doubt it. In fact, says Chuck Todd, who, by the way, hosts a TV show on Sunday mornings right here in Washington, anyone who questions the official version of this story literally has been brainwashed like an inmate in a North Korean prison. And Chuck Todd honestly feels sorry for people like that.
He's conditioned 30 to 40% of the country to essentially whatever you hear, it's not what you think it is. But we are living in a moment where we have a part of one of our major political parties that is just not accepting the premise, is just not accepting facts that are facts.
Just not accepting facts that are facts. It's pretty funny. But it's not actually real. Partisans on television like that guy say things like this, not to convince you. That's not going to work. They say things like that to reassure themselves that their ruse is working. And on some level, they know that you don't believe them, which is why they double the volume. But the adults in the conversation, and by the way, there are some, know the score. According to a CNN report this afternoon, top Democrats secretly admit to one another that this isn't working. They're not going to get Trump through impeachment hearings. They're not convincing voters the president should be removed a year before the election. It has nothing to do with getting that done. They're impeaching Trump for the benefit of the true believers who watch MSNBC in primetime, who think Chuck Todd is like a newsman. This is all a sham. It's a variety show staged for the benefit of the party's donors and its activists. It's not actually going to move votes. And by the way, the sober Democrats, and there are some, there's a lot at stake here. Not everyone's a buffoon. There's some smart people in this game. And the smart ones know that. They also know that in the end, impeachment could very well wind up hurting them, hurting the Democratic Party, just like it hurt the Republican Party in 1998 when they impeached Bill Clinton for much clearer reasons than they're impeaching Donald Trump. So, in fact, it likely will hurt the Democrats, and that's starting to dawn on them now. And that realization is having an interesting effect. It always does. At the moment you realize you're not convincing anyone, the moment you get that your propaganda is impotent, you change. And in this case, the establishment is basically doing less and less to conceal what they're really up to. Here's one example. Early this morning, Bloomberg News, named after the guy who's running for president, by the way, published this tweet summarizing the first day of hearings. Keep in mind, Bloomberg News is a news operation, and we're quoting. The first public impeachment hearing against Donald Trump laid out how a handful of loyalists, led by Rudy Giuliani, wrested control of U.S. policy from seasoned diplomats. Wrested control of U.S. policy from seasoned diplomats, presumably in whose hands it should remain. Consider that for a minute. By the way, that's the underlying assumption of all the dumb people. Chuck Todd believes that as a matter of faith. But is there a clearer inversion of the Constitution of the United States? Hard to think of one. Diplomats don't control foreign policy. They carry it out. Who controls foreign policy? Well, voters do. They control their country, in fact, through their elected officials. So it doesn't matter if every single bureaucrat in the State Department disagreed with the president's policy on Ukraine or whatever. Russia or Burkina Faso, fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. Their job is not to make policy, it's to affect it. It's to carry it out. They work for the president, all presidents, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, Obama, Trump, doesn't matter. Whoever's elected next, when Chelsea Clinton becomes president, they'll take orders from her. Good. They take orders from the elected person because that person was elected and they weren't. The president is the only person with power in the executive branch. That's how democracies work. And that's why in Washington, almost nobody still supports democracy.